Misery was released in 1991. It's directed by Rob Reiner, stars James Caan and my favorite actress, Kathy Bates. So James Caan plays a writer named Paul Sheldon. It's based on a Stephen King novel, so of course it's going to be about a writer. He's finishing up his last like romance novel at like a ski lodge sort of place in like the rural Colorado, and he just finishes and he has this little ritual. He smokes a cigarette and drinks champagne. And then he drives off into kind of like a snowstorm because it's like in the mountains in Colorado. And his car crashes. And all of a sudden someone rescues him, like pulls him out of the smashed up car and like gives him CPR and stuff like that. And he wakes up in this room. It's not a hospital, it's a bedroom. And this woman is taking care of him. And he's like, oh my God, thank you for saving me. And she's like, I'm a nurse. My name's Annie Wilkes or something. And she is like, I'm a huge fan of your novels. It's like everything she lives for are his romance novels, which he wants to get out of doing. Like he had just written a book that was like Mean Streets or something. It was like, full of cursing and stuff. And it gets to the point that he realizes she's got him trapped there. His legs are broken. He can't go anywhere. And like she says that her phone is down and, he can't call his agent, can't call his daughter. And eventually she's like, yeah, like you're not leaving here. But that was after, she read his new book and didn't like it because it had cursing in it. And she made him burn his new book on a grill in the bedroom, basically, because it had swearing in it, because she's crazy. So, excuse me. So she burns the book because it has swearing, and he figures out that he is like actually trapped there. And Annie comes and like brings in this typewriter that's like she got from like an antique store, and like the N key is missing, and that's like one of the most used letters in the English alphabet. So like she would have to like fill in all the N's on the paper. And she's like, okay, you're gonna write a new novel. You're gonna write Misery was the romance novel character that she wants to bring back to life. And she gives Paul this stack of paper, and he's like, well, thank you, because he's like trying to act nice to her so she doesn't kill him. He's like, thank you, but this paper actually smudges. Let me show you. And like he types smudge on it and smudges the paper. He's like, you don't want this book to smudge, do you? And she's like, no. Should I get you some fancy writing slippers and stuff too? Like she gets like really mad that, he needed a different kind of paper. And she goes out and gets it. And he starts writing like the first draft of the book that she wants. And she comes in and like, she's like, nope, this won't work. You have to start over. He's like, what happened? Because Misery, the character, was supposed to be dead at the end of the last book. And Annie's insisting that, he bring her back to life. So he's just kind of like changed the ending from the last book and so that she wasn't dead. And Annie comes in, she tells the story about when she used to go see the Rocketeer serials when she was a kid. And they were cliffhangers. So she came back, the Rocketeer was about to die. She came back next week and they had changed the ending so that it wasn't a cliffhanger or whatever. And she like freaks out. She starts yelling at the kids, they just cheated us, because it was like just a dumb plot in a movie. But she freaks out. And, Paul's just like watching her lose her fucking mind over this. And she's just like, you got to start over. So Paul starts writing again. And there's this like kind of cool plot. If you read the book Misery, there's more about what's in the book that he's writing. And it's kind of interesting. Like he brings her back to life. And Annie's all happy. And she's like dancing around and saying, I'm going to play my Liberace records. And so Paul is trapped in this house with his legs broken, and he's writing this novel. So he's trying to figure out a way to escape. And he gets like a paper clip or something, and no, a hairpin, yeah, and unlocks the door and like looks around her house and stuff. And he stops taking the painkillers that she's giving him, and he's like saving them up, and he's like, oh, will you have dinner with me? And he like tries to drug her, but then she spills the wine that he drugged, and it it just does not work out for him at all. And she realized, well, and like he has a knife under the bed now too, that he escaped when she wasn't there, and he has a knife. And she comes in with a needle and like drugs him, and then says, oh, well, I found your knife and your key with the hairpin. And then she says, I'm going to perform an operation that'll make sure you won't run away again. So she puts a wooden block between his two ankles, and she takes a sledgehammer and goes, and it like breaks his foot one way and then breaks the other foot the other way. And then she says something like, I love you, Paul. And it's so gruesome. And James Caan's a good actor. Like you really feel the pain in the way he's expressing that. In the meantime, there's this like rural small town sheriff and his wife trying to track down Paul Sheldon. And like they find his car and stuff, and he kind of figures out there's something going on with Annie Wilkes, the sheriff does. And he goes to Annie's house, and Annie she shoves Paul in the basement when she sees him coming up. And then she shows the sheriff like the room with the writing desk and stuff. She's like, oh, I've been writing. I've been trying to bring, the music, memories, I don't know, romance back to life. And he's like, oh, okay. And the sheriff is about to leave when he hears Paul in the basement, and he opens the door to the basement. He says, Mr. Sheldon, and Annie shoots him in the back with a shotgun, and he falls down the stairs. So like Annie is like, all right, now I've got to kill Paul and myself, basically. She comes downstairs with a needle and a gun. And Paul is like, I love you. Please don't do this. Let me finish the book first. So she's like, all right. And then he's finishing the book, and he lights a piece of paper on fire of the book, and he sets the book on fire so she can't read it. And she's like freaking out, trying to put the fire out. And he like smashes her over head with the typewriter, and then takes the burnt papers and shoves it down her mouth. And he says, eat it till you choke, you sick, twisted fuck, which I kind of love that line. But yeah, she's dead afterwards, and Paul escapes. And later on, he's in a restaurant, and he gets like a hallucination of Annie coming up to him again. And it's a good, like, scary ending. Highly recommend the book too. It's similar, but like Rob Reiner did a good job with the adaptation. But it's definitely a movie that another like kind of female centered plot. Annie Wilkes had been like, killing babies and stuff, and ended up in jail for that because she was a nurse in a hospital. There's so many cool details to this story. And I feel like as a writer, you want to have fans, but there's only so much love somebody can have for your work before it goes off the rails. And so I think it's good to stay true to yourself and keep more than one copy of a book around, for sure. So that was Misery. And let me know if there's another movie you'd like me to explain. Please like and subscribe. Consider sending a tip on Venmo or Cash App. The links are in my bio, and I will see you tomorrow.